Hi, I'm Joel H. Brewster, and I'm no stranger to horror. And this is a podcast discussing the big and small of the genre with the hopes of taking you from being a casual horror fan to a horror film fanatic like myself. I'm going to say this is season 2 of the podcast. I've taken quite a bit of a break. My wife welcomed a baby in the world, well, our baby in the world. Very excited, and I'm excited to be back, though. With me today to kick off this season, I have one of my favorite people in the genre, a wonderful filmmaker named Ariel Hansen, who's also a director, writer, actor, voice actor, and the co-founder of Bad Cookie Pictures. Ariel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to have you here and have you on the show. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it is an exciting time for me.
Yeah, you've got a lot of stuff coming up. So I was excited that this is going to be a time to get you on here to talk about a lot of your stuff, but also talk about the movie In Fabric, which is going to be our our topic of today, as well as a bunch of other things. But in the 2019 movie directed by Peter Strickland, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on the movie.
Yeah, I was very lucky and I got to see it in theaters at the Rio. So it was probably the best movie watching experience I could have had for it. And I just really loved, first off, a killer dress.
Yeah.
And it was a fabulous dress on top of that. Like, it looked good on everyone who wore it. And that made it all the more tasty when everyone died. And I loved how it was period film, taking you to a different place. So then, like, the costumes really became a big element of the film too, with the people working at the sinister department store looking very out of their time, almost like they're ghosts or something themselves.
That is the best description of this movie. That you nailed it. Yeah, exactly that. It just felt like a movie that was like from an alternate dimension, just the way it like looked and everything too, as well as the time period. It just felt so odd, and I loved it for that.
Yeah, it had like this nice surreal aspect to it, but it wasn't so over the top that you couldn't tell what was going on. Like, you were able to follow the plot, but it was also like, whoa, this is really weird. Weird stuff's going on.
Mm-hmm. And you have a background in like I've seen a lot on your social media. You do a lot of sewing. What got you into like sewing? And just I'd love to know more about that as well as your other film experience.
Halloween costumes.
Oh, no way.
Yep. That's the first things I ever, aside from like maybe making like some Barbie clothes at my Nana's house, like learning how to hand sew a bit, but like really getting into using a machine and everything. My mom used to always make my Halloween costume every year when I was a kid, and she would make awesome costumes. And then when I got old enough, I started helping her. And then when I got even more old enough, I got to do it all myself. And so I was sewing my Halloween costumes every year. And then when I was in high school, I happened to have a spare block because I homeschooled PE because I didn't like PE class. So I had an extra block. And so I took sewing class in grade 9, and then I had an extra block in grade 12. So I also took sewing in grade 12. So that just sort of really solidified some of the skills. And then after sort of only doing Halloween costumes again for years, the pandemic hit and I was stuck at home a lot. And so I dusted off the sewing machine and just started making a lot of stuff.
That's so cool. Do you remember the first Halloween costume that you sewed for yourself?
Yeah. I think the first one that I did on my own was this big black cloak with a big hood.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually had a mask that was my dad's friend gave it to us. And it was like this really good quality, thick rubber mask.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks the same as the skull mask from Halloween 3, except this was in red. So I was like, I wore that mask, I put the hood on, and I was like going around being the Grim Reaper, and it was fun.
That's so cool. Speaking of Halloween costumes, I saw your Halloween costumes this year, and you and your boyfriend, and they are like phenomenal. Do you want to tell everyone else what you are? I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, yes. So we decided to take a little trip to Staten Island and be a power couple. A power couple that doesn't like the sunlight. We were Nadja and Laszlo from What We Do in the Shadows.
Were you in character the whole time for Halloween?
No, I had to take the teeth out to eat.
Fair enough. It was such a cool costume. I saw it on Instagram, and my friend Anna, who's in listen to the show, I sent it to her right away because she's a huge fan of What We Do in the Shadows, and I thought it was like my favorite thing I saw on like social media as far as like a Halloween costume.
Oh, thank
It
you.
was so cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. I for like the Nadja outfit, I got patterns off of Etsy that are like historical 1890s patterns.
Mhm.
And then I also made a coat and a vest for Colin and a tie, and it worked very well because he didn't have to shave. So that is a big key of trying to find couples costumes for us.
Yeah, that's so cool. Did a lot of people notice what the costume was like right away?
I mean, we didn't really get to go out much
I was just
with
thinking
it.
what year it was. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
We had like a safe amount of friends over, and anyone who had seen the show was
Yeah.
like, yes, but when you go for characters, it's kind of like, have they seen it? Have they not? That'll kind of determine if they guess it.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's such a cool costume. Before we hop further into the movie, do you want to tell like a little bit about some of your projects? I just want to talk more about like your style of filmmaking and the type of horror you go into.
Yeah. So I've got like, well, first off, there's always the film that we worked on together.
Yeah.
That was my second film as a director, Man in the Rabbit Mask. And that was really fun because it was like doing Are You Afraid of the Dark? But like, I think it looked a little better, gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought so too.
Yeah. So that was really fun, like trying to balance the horror, but also keeping it like PG because of the funding.
Yeah, it's very fascinating how you have to like do this like balance with that, which is like I loved the experience working with you on Man in the Rabbit Mask, but then I just really love to see your other projects outside of that too, because I'm like, oh, you got to like have more freedom to go into darker areas, which is really cool to see.
Instead of going for the gold, go for the gore.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a few other projects that I've done. My first one was Ready to Burst, and your wife might have found that a bit scarier than you, as it was a pregnancy horror film. And then that one, actually, we put it up on YouTube recently, and it's got like over 20,000 views now.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to say on top for a quick second about Ready to Burst, because pregnancy horror is such a fascinating genre, like subgenre, I want to say to me, because there's like some movies that are in it. Obviously, we've got Prevenge, and I want to say I'm pronouncing this right, Titan, the Julia DeCorno movie that recently came out, and it's just such a fascinating thing with like Ready to Burst as well, that it as a person that's never obviously as myself who can never like experience pregnancy, I find that it's still such an interesting body horror subgenre when it's involving pregnancy, and there's an element of that in this movie too, with the one birth scene. But it's like you said, like my wife has a different experience watching it than I did, and I love Ready to Burst.
Yeah, it's and like, I mean, as much as the director is a bad man, and I wish that it had been directed by someone else, Rosemary's Baby, huge influence. Fun fact about Prevenge was that when Ready to Burst premiered, it played at the Rio Grind, and I can't remember, I don't think it was the pre-film for Prevenge, but Prevenge also played at the Rio Grind. And I think it was at least on the same day. So it was
so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So I got to see that one in theaters as well, because I went to the whole festival, and it was just like, ooh, I love Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. So then seeing that like Alice Lowe like directed it and wrote it and starred in it, I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, and also I think wasn't she like very far along in her pregnancy when she was starring it, correct? Yeah.
Oh yeah, like the baby gets born by the end of the film.
Oh yeah, that movie is so good. That's one of my favorite horror comedies. On the top of this film, I found it really interesting that this movie was billed as a horror comedy. There was aspects of it that I thought were funny, but do you think horror comedy is the right way to build this movie?
I think I wouldn't describe it as comedy, but it had like such a level of camp that for a general audience, that is probably the better way to describe it to get butts and seats.
That's fair.
Because then people, when things are weird, most people are gonna laugh. So like it's not one of those films that's like really trying to like scare you, have you on the edge of your seat the whole time. So then if they hadn't have sort of put the horror comedy slant on the marketing, they might have gotten people being like, it wasn't scary, people were laughing, it was weird.
Yeah, that's very true. It has the I guess the very popular internet's cult phrase now. It had a lot of A24 vibes as it being an A24 movie, and it was just really had that throughout the film. That I feel like A24 movies are in this delicate world where there's a lot of people that just don't like them. I love them for the most part, and then there's people that just don't like them. And I find it like really fascinating. Like you said, some people just find it just too weird to like.
Yeah. And I mean, I've liked all the ones that I've seen from A24, but I by no means have seen all of their films.
Mm-hmm.
So can't say I'm an A24 girl.
I haven't seen them all. They've got quite a bit that they've distributed, but yeah, it's funny. I felt that another short film of yours that I wanted to get into is Nepenthes.
Yeah,
hopefully I said it right, had
yes.
somewhat of A24 vibes to it. Do you know what I mean? Like in a sense that I feel like it has that oddness to it, but it had more of a, it's online, so it is on YouTube.
Oh,
right?
yeah, people can watch it online. And
yeah, because I feel like that it has that sort of vibes to it, and I thought it was such an interesting story, and it really sorry, I'm going to cut myself off here, but it really had this I was wondering if you had any inspiration from you also being in gardening, if that also played into like the concept of that story, or was there a connection that
I would love to say that yes, gardening played into it, but actually no. I was inspired by like a creepypasta website.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not like from like r/creepypasta or anything. It's this website called the Dionaea House, which is, I believe, Latin for a Venus flytrap. I should know that. I embroidered it on a backpack. Anyways, so it like just had this concept of like this house that traps people and stuff, but then I took it a bit more literal by making it the house is literally carnivorous plant.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely put both the creepypasta, that website, as well as the short film in the show notes. But I just thought it was such a really cool concept that it was just edgy to see. I remember yelling out near the end of it just because it just caught me off guard still, even though like I was leading into it. So it really like delivered that way, because I truly did like yell out near the end, and I thought that yeah, it was so well done. I just thought that it just has I said A24 vibes, but it kind of reminds me more of like a Spectre Vision sort of.
Yeah, I could see that a bit more. I actually another podcast reviewed it a while back as a part of like they do like mini-sodes for reviewing shorts, and one of the hosts described it as campy seriousness, and I was like, oh my god, that's the perfect way to describe like all of my films, because yeah, they're kind of campy, but everyone's taking themselves seriously in it.
Yeah, I like that campy seriousness. I guess that because that also goes into your most recent short film, Clout. I'm sorry, I had it like right there, man. Clout had that kind of satirical aspect to it, and I really liked that too. And it was like such a good look at like social media.
Yeah, well, like I just a lot of when I was younger, I really wanted to be in comedy, and I really wanted to be on SNL. That was like my goal as a kid.
Really?
And then surprisingly, I was like, I want to be the funny one. And then as I got older, I started getting really into horror, and I was like, you know what? I can make people scared a lot better than I can make them laugh. And sometimes they'll do both when they watch my stuff. So I sort of steered more towards horror because it also had more possibilities of like weird things rather than just being like, make them laugh.
Yeah,
yuck.
It's funny that you said the SNL thing, because like conversationally, when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, conversationally, I could see you just like being like like I could see you being on like an SNL, like, because I think you're conversationally like a comedic person. Like you said like funny things, just like as throwaway comments. So yeah, I definitely could see that. That's pretty cool.
I was on my high school improv team.
Oh, speaking of that, actually, well, not necessarily high school, because I was going to say that you're also started out in Victoria, correct? Like
Yes.
where I'm from. And I saw that you started out in theater. Is that
Yeah. I started, I mean, I did like plays in elementary school, and then when I hit middle school, my mom, through one of her friends, found out about this youth theater program and youth theater company called Tumbleweeds Theatre.
Mhm.
And so I got signed up for the classes, and then when like my skills were enough, then I got to go into the theater company, and I did a bunch of different plays with that. I got to be Peter Pan, which was really exciting because I went to Peter Pan preschool.
What's that?
Is
it like actually called Peter Pan preschool, or is it like
yeah, it's a preschool in Esquimalt.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it still exists, but when I was little, and people were like, "Oh, you're gonna go to Peter Pan preschool? What are you gonna learn?" And I'd say, "I'm gonna learn to fly." Didn't back then, but for Peter Pan, I got to learn how to use aerial silks. So kind of.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience getting to climb fabric and do all sorts of cool stuff in the air.
Do you have any interest to get I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, do you have any interest to get back into theater and either the acting capacity or like making a stage play?
I have some interest. I actually did do in the before times.
Mm-hmm.
I was a part of a Halloween show called the Abracadaver Cabaret, and I did a dramatic monologue that was written by one of the organizers. So I actually got to scratch that theater bug, which was quite fun. Unfortunately, I think it may have caused the pandemic, because the theme for that year's cabaret was the apocalypse.
Oh.
And yeah, and I have the poster framed on my wall, and it's just like, oh, it's people in gas masks on a pile of bodies.
Oh God. Oh wow.
And so it's like, this was in 2019, of course. So it's like, oh, we kind of predicted that, didn't we?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. My performance was Cthulhu themed. So
yeah, so you didn't quite cause this apocalypse,
no.
But yeah. I was gonna say, like, after this, are you planning to, like, who knows when after this would even like take place? So I'm not gonna force you to think to a world we don't know what's going to happen next.
I mean, personally, I do prefer film as a medium, because I like that you can try a bunch of stuff and then mash together all of the best bits, rather than one audience might see it and someone might be sick. And if you don't have understudies, they're just gonna not give their greatest performance, and that's what the audience is going to remember.
That's very true.
Yeah, I also just like, when you're making a film and you're in the production set, on set in production, it's like, yes, we're doing this, and then it's done, and then you can do something else. Whereas like theater, there's such a long rehearsal process, and then the show being performed every night after night and everything. That's just like such a big time commitment. And I like to do so many different things that I don't want to just say, oh, I'm doing this for 6 months.
Yeah, that's fair. It's like you're being a rock star, like really, like, you know, like in a sense that you actually have to like go on, not necessarily tour, but like, even if you're like a residency as like a musician, it's what it kind of seems like, as opposed to just like shooting something and then, you know, editing after.
Yeah. And that's also like my storytelling sensibilities as a writer are also more leaning towards film. Like I used to write plays in high school as a part of my drama class, and they were basically just horror movies. It's actually kind of funny that they did get performed as well, because the first one got a runner-up in the Young Playwrights Festival. Oh, cool. And then the next one that I did, it was a part of the big theater program showcase. So like we didn't have the budget or something to do musicals. So we just had theater shows that we'd do once a year. So we did I think it was 3 one-act plays. So I wrote and directed and played a zombie in one of them. And then I acted in another one. So it was pretty much a horror movie, the one that I wrote.
Did that really get your like horror bug? Because I was early on, I'm assuming that was your high school experience. Is that what really got you into wanting to write horror?
The horror bug really caught me, I would say, right around when I was 16. Up until then, I was like super afraid of horror, but not when I was watching it. I was afraid to be afraid.
Yeah.
So the anticipation of watching a horror movie would just get me so riled up, and I'd be so scared. And then I'd actually be watching it. I'd be like, oh no, this is fine.
Yeah.
And so then when I was 16, my dad rented a movie that, like, the trailers and everything, I had been terrified to watch it. It was Planet Terror. And my dad was like, well, I'm putting it on. You can either watch it with me or you can go hang out by yourself in your bedroom. I slowly inched towards the couch as I saw it playing, and it was funny. And that was sort of my moment of realizing, why am I afraid to watch these films when the experiences actually aren't scary for me?
And it's an interesting movie too, because that's like has the campy that has like further of the campiness than I'd say in Fabric does, but like it was just such a visually strong movie.
Oh yeah,
I love the grindhouse look of it.
So I used some images from that for references for Nepenthes. So.
I can think of exactly when too. I love to hear your kind of background here, because it really ties together, because I've known you for quite a while now. It ties together some of your shorts in my mind, like some of your vision. A question I do have actually is, because you also, you co-founded Bad Cookie Pictures. How did you guys come up with that name?
I'm allowed to tell the story now that it's legal.
Okay.
So Christopher Topher Graham is the co-founder of Bad Cookie Pictures alongside myself. And before Bad Cookie was a thing, we had started writing a script together. We wanted to do like a 420 slasher script. And so neither of us had ever been high before. So we were like, you know what? If we're writing about people getting high in this movie, we need to have a writing session where we're high. And so I had a friend who had a green card for going into the medical dispensary, and I got him to get us a couple cookies, and mistakes were made. I ate a whole cookie because I had had like a small cookie before, and like I'd been high a tiny bit before. So I was like, I can handle it. Topher, you only have half a cookie because you've never done it before. Boy, oh boy, that was a bad idea. No writing happened.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, we watched 2 movies. We watched, I think it was Class of 1999. It's like evil robot teachers. And then we watched the Toxic Avenger, and I fell asleep partway through Toxic Avenger, but I also was like periodically waking up and seeing it, and I was like, the cinematography in this looks so much better than I remembered it being, because I'd seen it before, and I was like, it was just like, I think that's probably the perfect way to watch Toxic Avenger, is to be high.
I'd say a lot of the trauma stuff. Yeah,
it looked so much better. And so then, of course, me trying to get home, I'd ridden my bike, was not riding my bike home. So I used to bring a onesie with me whenever I hung out at Topher's place, because it was very cold. And so I went to the bus stop, middle of the night, waiting for the bus there. Did not feel like standing anymore. So I sat down, and I was just sitting in the grass in my onesie with tunnel vision, waiting for the bus, imagining like a white van pulling up and people trying to kidnap me. That did not happen, thank goodness. But I was just like, I am too high. I'm too high. I somehow made it home. And so after we'd made Ready to Burst, and we were then moving on to work on Man in the Rabbit Mask, we were like, okay, So because Topher came on as a producer for Ready to Burst, and we were like, we should make a production company to sort of umbrella our films under. And we remembered our writing experience. And we were like, okay, yes, that was a real bad cookie.
That's so funny. That's such a like an interesting origin story. That it's like, and it's like when you think of the title right away, I'm like, oh well, yeah, that ties in right away.
Yeah.
It makes sense right away.
Yeah, it was
like,
just a very strange night.
yeah. It's my West Coast Strange has a weed connection too, which is really strange. But
Really?
yeah, West Coast Strange was actually a fictional in one of my drafts for the script that you read mine, the Victoria incident.
Yeah.
West Coast Strange was the fictional strain of weed they smoked in it, like the first draft, and that just got cut out of the story. And then yeah, that was it, because there was a character in it that like was giving them like a bunch of different strains of weed, and West Coast Strange was one of them. And then just I never used that again, and I never had it in the script. And I was like, I just like that title, and then I just kept it.
And like, you know, if you ever become so big that you have your own line of weed as well, perfect.
I know, I'm gonna have to get it in there. Like that's the name's already there, right? So I just need to incorporate that and just keep that name.
That's so fun. We've got that little similar connection.
It's funny too, because I remember when we last saw each other, when you brought me the award for the Badass Film Festival, was that our phones, even though our symbols are different, our phones were like had the same like case pretty much, with just our different like company symbols. And I thought that was so cool. It's so random.
Yep. It's great minds think alike.
Yeah, it was just such a cool visual. I was like, oh, that's so funny. We should have had a picture of that like together, because I thought that was like, such a
the
cool
only problem is our phones are in the phone case.
I know, there's no way to do it.
We'd have to use a mirror.
Yeah. Another question I have actually on Bad Cookies. How did you and Topher meet? Like, how was it like those movies, or have you guys known each other for a while?
We'd actually been friends before we started making films together, thanks to an industry titan. So we met at Gigi Saul Guerrero's birthday party.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because Topher had worked on Lucha Gore's Choose Your Victim series.
Okay, yeah.
And then my first like, oh my God, this is awesome, I love film role was in Evil Dead in 60 Seconds for Lucha Gore. And I'd met Gigi through Fright Night, working at Fright Nights as a scare actor. She did my interview for whether or not I was going to get hired. And she remembered me from that and got me to audition for being Cheryl in Evil Dead in 60 Seconds. And then after that, and after like we had done some partying, because there were parties associated with the 60-second film competition, and we became friends. So then I got invited to her birthday party. And of course, she was already friends with Topher, so Topher was invited. And she introduced us because she was like, I think these two people are going to get along. And lo and behold, we did.
Wow. It's funny because Gigi has now been referenced in 5 of my episodes, I want to say, because I've had Nee on here, Gabriel on here, you, and just multiple times. So Gigi Guerrero, it's really cool. You guys, like, that's how you guys met, through such a prominent figure in Vancouver film. Well, film in general now. I was going to say, yeah. No,
she is like a pillar of the horror industry now, man.
Oh, absolutely.
She actually was really helpful when I was directing Ready to Burst, because I didn't go to film school. I went to acting school. So she had me over for like an evening, and she just went over all sorts of stuff that I should do as a director, for like going over, you know, making lookbooks, shot geography, all that kind of stuff. So I got like a condensed film class from Gigi.
That's really cool. It's how I first heard of her was through Athena Russell's. She did an internet series where she interviewed people a while ago. I can't remember what it's called now.
I remember it was like they had the cats.
Yeah, was it?
It was from her bitch pop days.
Yeah, TNA was it called? Well, there was her and Tierra, I think.
Yeah. Tea Time with T&A.
That's it. Yeah. So this is gonna be a really weird connection. So that was the first time I saw Gigi was on that. And then from there I was like, oh, cool, this short filmmaker. And at this point I hadn't written any shorts. And then I saw her short film Slam, and I may have told this story 3 or 4 times on this podcast or otherwise. But I saw that short film Slam, and I was like, I want to write short films. And then like that was it. And then I think before, like it's very interesting connection to like the Vancouver women in horror, I would say, like just that are just so pivotal to the genre in general. But I got into actually writing horror because of the movie American Mary, which was another Vancouver women in horror thing. And then I saw the short from Gigi, and then I got into like writing like short horror films. So it's like this very interesting connection. And then that's how I got into horror. So
that's also that also brings up another connection, because of course everyone from Victoria is connected in 5 different ways. I did musical theater with Athena.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, we were both in a production of You're in Town.
Oh yeah, I saw like I remember that. I didn't see the play itself, but I remember seeing like posters for that everywhere.
Yeah, we did. It was like a musical theater summer camp in Langford, and I wanted to start doing musicals, and I'd started taking singing lessons and stuff. So I signed up and was a part of that. Quite fun. And then we ended up going to the same acting school in Vancouver.
What a small world. And it's funny, like I don't remember how I met Athena. I think it's from like a friend through a friend. It was before a film, like before I was in. Yeah, it was just a Victoria connection. And now like it's just so great to see how well you guys are like doing, and like a bunch of different people I've seen from here that are all doing so well in the mainland. I'm just always rooting for you guys, and I'm always happy to see it.
Well, and I'm rooting for you because I want to see more stuff made in Victoria. I want to work as a local there and act on stuff and just stay at my parents' house. I want to hang out with their dogs and have an excuse to be over there.
Right. I have this whole I guess I can get into this feature film that I've written for anyone listening to this, called The Victoria Incident, which is a creature feature.
It's awesome. Give him money.
Thank you. It's a creature feature film that takes place in Victoria, and I have this idea, and I've been like kind of floating around, that there's that last party scene, and my dream is to have like all the Vancouver actors and filmmakers that are from Victoria all to be in that party scene as like cameo sort of awesome party scene moment. On top of that, I want to work with everyone, but I think that scene would be really cool. Like no matter how they worked on the film, I just think that having them all there to kind of like talk to each other and like different things for like a day of shooting would be the coolest, the like little in Victoria thing that I think would be really funny.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's like a bucket list like dream of mine, to have that whole scene put like that.
That I'm because I know what happens in that scene. Yeah. I've read the script, and that would be very cool.
Yeah, I think it would be really like a fun scene to have that done. Just a question just on how films are going, because we're talking about original films here. How do you feel about this rise of requels? I'm going to call them. I think is the correct term. These reboot sequels, these soft sequels that we're getting. We've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming out. We had the Scream one recently. We had Halloween.
Candyman.
Candyman. I almost forgot Candyman. Am I missing one? I know there's another one.
There. I was actually a podcast that I was on recently. We were just talking about this as well. So now I gotta remember. We listed. I swear I saw something about a film coming up called Evil Dead Rise, and I think it might be in the Evil Dead universe.
Yep, that's believed. And technically, the last Evil Dead was in the universe. Have you heard that whole thing?
Oh, yeah. Because originally it was supposed to be Bruce Campbell driving a truck at the end, picking up Mia. Mm-hmm. And so that's how it would have tied in.
Yeah.
But then we got Ash versus the Evil Dead, and that was great.
Yeah.
So
how do you feel about that? Versus, are you just happy for more horror? Because we've got these awesome original films like In Fabric, and like Hereditary. A lot of A24 films are coming out that are very original horror films, as well as others.
Yeah, like Spectre Vision stuff. Mm-hmm. Daniel Isn't Real, so my jam.
Great. And Come to Daddy.
I need to watch that one. I'm also a big Elijah Wood fan, so I don't know why I haven't seen that yet.
I love that movie so much. I think you'll absolutely love it. Yeah, it's cool that we have this. Like, I feel like we've got these big budget horror movies in a world where like Scream beat out like The Matrix, which is just the strangest thing to me to even think of. Like, I didn't think that was going to happen financially at all, but I just feel like horror is in this like very interesting mainstream now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like when people talk about how it's like, oh, all these like remakequels and stuff going on, I'm like, I mean, remakes and reboots and stuff, it's been like 2 decades of that.
Oh yeah.
It's not news anymore.
Yeah.
It's just a fact of studios don't want to take risks. So, I mean, personally, I would prefer more original concepts to be coming out, but sadly, that doesn't get butts in seats as easily.
Yeah, and it's interesting with the original things we do come out. Like when you watch movies like In Fabric, when you watch like Titanium, when you watch like Raw, or I can list off a bunch of other original movies.
Yeah, like I
they're
saw
so weird.
Last Night in Soho, I think was the last film I saw in theaters during that brief period of it feeling safe.
Yeah, it's fascinating that we just get these, like, I guess if you're an Edgar Wright, you can just like put out like an original horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I think he probably didn't have the easiest time getting the funding though.
That's probably fair.
Because even if you're I think lots of directors, I mean, look at Guillermo del Toro. He still hasn't been able to make In the Mountains of Badness.
True.
It looks like it might be happening.
I don't see how he can't get funded anything, or like he should be funded everything at this point. Like whatever he asks for, just give it to him.
He makes wonderful films that lots of people see.
Yeah.
Just give him the money.
Yeah, and he gets like even the Oscar buzz. Like he does a little bit of both worlds, you know what I mean? Like he just gets the interesting Oscar buzz, as well as like makes the films that, like, he also makes creature features, right? Like he has like a lot of like monsters in his movies. Well, I was just gonna say, in this movie, it was interesting, like it's not a monster movie, it's a cursed item movie, but like the dress acts like a monster throughout the movie, and I thought that was like an odd choice, but like a bold choice. And it felt like the dress itself was like the protagonist of the movie, the way the story ended up going, right?
Yeah, it was like the main character of the film. I think that's actually why we ended up talking about this. Was someone posted on Twitter, like, or I think it was the Oscars, that was like, best performance by a dress in a film ever, tell us. And it's just like, you can only say In Fabric, because in what other films has the dress literally been a character?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's like all these people posting pictures of, just classic Hollywood scenes of women in dresses, and it's like, those dresses, they did not do as much acting as that one red dress.
Yeah, that's one, like, that red dress too. I was like telling my wife, I'm like, I want to like get that dress for like Halloween. Like I think it's like such a cool, it's like one of those things I'm like, I want to own more like horror memorabilia. And I'm like, that dress is like something I would like to own, because of like, it's so cool.
Yeah, there's a part of me that wants to make that dress for a Halloween costume, but then there's another part of me that's like, that is how you get cursed and die.
Yeah, that's how you end up like sewing the dress in a purgatory hell. Like, yeah, that was such an interesting frame too. Spoiler alert for anyone not yet watched the movie. That not final frame, but like one of the last frames of them like sewing the dress forever out of their own blood. Such a jarring scene.
Yep. I also am like afraid of carbon monoxide poisoning because of that film.
Absolutely fair. Absolutely fair.
Wasn't really something that I'd thought much about. And then I watched that film and I was like, we have a furnace for heat. I'm now scared.
We had a scare like that one time, to be honest. We had
oh geez, really?
Yeah, well, our gas stove, our old gas stove, was just on low, and then it just the flame went out and it just like was on. But what happened was the fireman came, like it set off our alarm, and then the fireman came and they just checked our house. But still, like, it's one of those things. So I'm like, oh my god,
yeah,
that could have been a lot worse. But I remember just saying, like, I'm like, it smells like gas in here. Like, it just like, it wasn't like on long enough, but I was like, it smells like gas in here. Then our alarm went off, and like firemen came, and they were there for a while. Like they checked the house a while before they actually left, which was very nice of them.
Yeah, we have a gas stove and I hate it. It's not just a gas stove, but it's a bad one. Like literally half of the settings, the flame just is out and it's just spewing out gas. So it's like you have like maybe a centimeter to work with trying to get it between low and high.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I am 100% an electric person for cooking.
Yeah. We had before when we had our old gas stove, I just hated it so much. Then we just replaced it with a better gas stove. But like, yeah, that completely. And before that, we had an electric one in our different house. And I'm just like, I missed it. Like as soon as we got here with our gas stove, like I want to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels safer. Like I honestly does just feel safer.
Safer, and like, at least for me, more control. There's an actual setting.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I know what the numbers mean.
Yeah. This one like really kind of, yeah, definitely had a scary scene with that. Interesting character, that guy that died. Reg Speaks was his name. I thought that was one thing they didn't really allude to that I thought was weird but fascinating, was how he like hypnotized people by being so boring.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, get back to that.
Again, that's like just this surreal campiness that the film brings. Like,
Yeah.
but like within the world, no one acknowledges it because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
I thought that has this power.
He just talked to them like, and they were just so bored. And I thought that, and I found, I'm not sure if you've ever had the experience of having to work, or if you do work in retail.
I did.
Or work in customer service in general, actually, I should say. I thought that they nailed both the retail aspect of like shopping during like kind of like holiday season and sales, or the retail aspect, but also the bank loan part with the micromanaging of the managers. I'm like, oh, you just nailed working in both sets of those worlds. And I thought that was like an interesting thing they threw in this campy horror-ish movie.
Yeah, there was so much in that film that it's just like, oh, that's I mean, is it an exaggeration of reality? I don't know. This is making me feel bad because that shouldn't be what really happens, but it does.
Yeah. Or even the handshake talk that they gave her. It's like, yeah, your handshake wasn't sincere enough. And I was like, okay, that's an exaggeration, but at the same time, I was like infuriated by listening to them talk. I was like, this is actually making me madder than it should. Like, that's an exaggeration, but it's so close to the truth.
Yep. Yeah. There was, sorry for leaving dead air, but I know you related to this.
That's fine.
I'm just trying to, there's like, oh yeah, that's another thing. I liked how the film, like, you would think that a dress would only have women as victims, but I liked how it also, like, the dress is just so awesome and looks so good on everyone that it crossed the gender lines.
I like that too, and I like how it organically came to that character. Like, it just like, it was just in a very interesting way. It wasn't just it just ended up with him through the store, and I thought that was like a really fascinating way to do it. And another character I thought that, like, my favorite character in the whole movie was the saleswoman. I thought she was just so strange, talking in absolute just such riddles, and everything about her was the most. I would watch a spin-off movie of just her not even doing anything haunting, just her working in there, selling that dress to people and just talking.
Oh, a spin-off anthology series where every object in the store has a different curse and she sells it to a different person at the beginning of every episode, and then it goes through what happens to that person because they bought the object from her. I
1000% hope someone else is listening to this that's like popular enough to actually make that happen, because yes, and have you direct it, because that absolutely yes. Yeah, that's exactly, I would love that. And I love cursed object things, so I would love that.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk cursed object, one of my favorite horror films that like made me freaked out was Oculus.
Amazing movie.
I still have a hard time believing that the WWE funded that partially.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a like in the credits, it's a WWE production.
Really?
I am like 100% certain on this.
No, like
I could be wrong.
No, that sounds right. That's so weird though.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone was a wrestler in it.
No, I think they went through a period of just funding weird movies though in general. They usually fund stuff with wrestlers in it though, like you said.
Yeah.
That's a very odd choice.
Yeah. But I'm glad that they did.
I'm so glad they did. Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah, just like, oh, the way it fucks with people's. Oh, am I allowed to swear?
You can swear as much as you want here. That's completely fine.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Just the way that like the mirror messed with your mind, so you think you're doing one thing, but you're actually doing something else, and just that really freaked me out.
Oh yeah, the chewing on the light bulb part.
Yeah,
that forever stays in my mind. That was such Mike Flanagan, right? That's Mike Flanagan movie too. He has not missed, in my opinion. Like, I've liked everything that he's done.
Yeah, I feel bad. I haven't finished Haunting of Hill House. Oh no, Haunting of Bly Manor, just because I got to a certain point and I'm like, I don't want to watch more bad things happen to these people. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That one's bleak. Did you finish Midnight Mass?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did finish that one.
Yeah. That was bleak too.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not afraid to. He also, and I think I mentioned this on another podcast, he also directed one of, in my opinion, one of the scariest scenes I've ever seen as far as making me uncomfortable, in Doctor Sleep.
Okay. Which
Have you seen Doctor
I've
Sleep?
seen, yeah, I've seen almost all of his stuff.
Okay. In Doctor Sleep, there's a scene with a little boy who's also from Vancouver, Jacob Tremblay, when he's getting killed, I should say. Do you remember this scene from
I think,
Rose That?
yeah, the he's the kid who plays baseball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I thought that was so uncomfortable because that child actor is so talented. Like he's from The Room. Like he's from the movie Room.
Yeah, not that.
Yeah. I just specify.
Yeah, he was not whatever the heck Tommy Wiseau's ward in The Room was.
Yeah, no, the Brie Larson one. Just
Yeah.
specify. Yeah, he in that scene, I just thought he acted it out so well that I'm like, this is so uncomfortable to watch. Of just like this kid getting murdered on screen. I'm like, also like, wow, I can't believe they just went for it and shot this scene. I'm like, huh, I guess
Yeah.
usually because it's off screen. I'm like, wow, they really went for it in that movie.
Yeah, Mike Flanagan doesn't. People always talk about his monologues and stuff and his characters, but he does not shy away from gore. Whoo,
No.
boy, the degloving in Gerald's Game.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, just getting the heebie-jeebies thinking about it.
That was brutal. It's interesting too. He's got this like, it seems like he has like a Netflix contract. I haven't really looked into it because he's doing a bunch of stuff with Netflix. And the way I see it, I'm like, give him all the money in the world. Like he's just knocked out of the park. Because I liked Gerald's Game. I liked Blind Manor was kind of sad.
Which one?
Blind Manor.
Yeah. Like I say,
sad.
I did not finish it.
Yeah, that's fair. That was really sad. I think Dr. Sleep's on there too, but it wasn't from Netflix. But yeah, he's just knocked out of the park. I'm excited to see whatever he does next.
Yeah, well, like even his early stuff, I watched Absentia a while back, and that was really good, even though it was super low budget. Hush is another good one.
Hush is great. There's a connection between Hush and the author, the woman that plays the author in Hush.
Is his wife.
Okay, that makes sense. She also is I meant the character who plays
the
author in Hush is also the author in Midnight, the book
of Midnight Mass.
Yeah, of Midnight Mass.
Yeah. And then I think is it Kate or Katie Siegel? Whatever her name is, she also co-wrote Hush, I do believe.
Really?
Yeah,
she's awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, that's a cool power couple. I really like that.
Yeah, it's nice to see like nepotism when it actually works and results in good things. Although I think they met on set, so she would, because I'm pretty sure she starred in Absentia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that would have been how they met. So then it's more of like, she's talented and we're in love, so I'm going to put her in everything. Yeah.
I can't remember the director's name. It escapes me. The guy that did Lights Out.
Oh, yep.
Sandberg? Oh, man.
I know his YouTube channel name. It's Pony Smasher.
His wife's in all of his stuff too.
I
believe. Yeah. She was great in Lights Out. I love the Lights Out short film. That's probably one of the best short films I've ever seen. Yeah, there's a reason it got turned into a feature. Yeah, absolutely. I think that kind of I feel like that spurred a lot of short films turned into features too. Because I feel like that was like a big one. You know more than that. So that's one of the first ones I remember. That's probably the first in recent memory, but it's actually something in horror that goes back quite a while. Like Saw was originally a short film. Right. Oculus, talking about Mike Flanagan, that was originally a short film. Right. There's one that was produced by Guillermo del Toro, Mama. That was originally a short film. Right. Lights Out was like the only one I can remember that was viral. I think the other ones are I could be wrong. Yeah. I don't remember Lights Out's just the one. That's why I was the first sort of YouTube short. Yeah. The other ones, I guess that's completely right. I guess there was obviously short films before. Yeah.
There were
Before
short
YouTube.
films before YouTube.
The world existed before YouTube, Joel. Oh yeah, right.
Not in the same capacity.
Yeah. To the turning the shorts to features, because you have shorts that you're looking to turn into features, right? Nepenthes,
Yes.
from my understanding, you're looking to turn that into a feature, or you're working on turning it into a feature currently, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and cloud as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if I was supposed to reveal that here. Like I can edit that.
I mean, it's not a secret, but at the same time, at least when I'm like in the writing stage of something, I don't want to talk about it too much, because then that kind of tricks your brain into thinking you've done the thing. So you get that dopamine. So then I'm more likely to procrastinate actually doing it.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah. Sorry for putting you on the spot there. I just got excited about your stuff that I would love to see into features there.
Oh, I want to tell you all about my way that I'm turning Nepenthes into a feature, because it is unexpected, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, cool. Do you want to tell me off air?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Definitely tell me off air. Everyone else will just have to wait until they actually see it. But yeah, that's awesome.
Someone just has to give me money.
Yeah. Because like the thing is too, like I feel like you've had an awesome festival run of like a lot of different short films now. How far like in like country has it been to? So you've done some of the States. Have you?
Yeah. So a lot of my films have also played in Europe. So they've played in Iceland, Denmark, Norway, the UK, Northern Ireland. That I guess kind of just counts as a part of that. Yeah, I've had them play in Europe. I'd love to have something play like in Australia and stuff. They just don't have a ton of festivals.
Fair.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Germany is another place.
That's really cool. So when you look for festivals coming up, because I know you have a film that's going to have a festival release coming up soon.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that film?
I would love to talk about that film. So that's currently in post-production, and we're going to be starting to submit to festivals very soon, is Damned Supper. And it is about a group of wannabe witches who hold a ritual called a dumb supper on Halloween to try and conjure up visions of their future loves. But they conjure up a bit more than they bargained for.
I like it. Is that your first film that has a witch element to it?
My first one that I wrote that has Topher did one, The Devil and I, that has like, it's inspired by a confession to witchcraft from back in the witch hunt eras. But no, this is my first witches one, and it's very exciting. I sewed all the costumes for all the women in it.
Wow.
It's like That's Victorian gowns.
So let me get this straight. So you wrote, directed, and you sewed the costumes for it too?
And I was one of the supporting actors.
Put a lot of work for this one.
Yeah, sometimes I should probably not do quite as much in my films, but sometimes you just get a little too excited.
But it's always worth it, I'm sure, when you're done, when you've like finished the film, you're like, oh, that's really cool. You get to see like multiple things that you did. You're like, oh, that's cool. I got to see it like from every angle. You got to put in like yourself as much as possible into like the project. I think that's really cool. Yeah,
it's like there's so many things that like if people really like that part of the film, I can be like, hey, that was me.
Absolutely. As far as the fashion goes in Damned Supper, was there any like film inspirations where it's like I want to get like kind of like that look and like a witch sort of vibe? And
so the fashions were actually more so inspired by just the fact that I've gotten really into watching historical costuming on YouTube.
Okay.
So I just there's like so many people making cool videos about the styles of the past and the history behind them and the techniques that were used and all that kind of stuff, that it's just like I've been watching so much of it and I was like, I want an excuse to make some historical looking outfits as well. And so then I'd written the script and then I was like, this will be perfect, because then we also will save a lot of money, because the amount of hours that it took to make these dresses, we could not have gotten custom costumes. And so because I made them, And I actually was lucky enough that my mom had a bunch of fabric from her business that she gave to me. And so I didn't have to spend money on buying a bunch of fabric for the costumes. So it was literally just like some of the notions and buying the patterns. And that was all of our costume department costs, because aside from that, it was just me putting in all that pandemic sweat. And that's also another reason why I acted in it, actually, was because I was able to make sure the dress fit because I actually could put it on myself. Whereas for the other actors, it was trying to do as much as I could without doing fittings just because of the pandemic.
Wow.
So there was some guesswork going on.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, because when did you start writing this film?
I started writing it before the pandemic. I wrote it in 2019 because then I submitted the script to the Badass Film Festival screenplay competition for the 2020 Badass Film Festival that never physically happened because it was supposed to be in March of 2020.
I remember.
Yeah. But then I won the screenplay won the award for best short screenplay, and that also came along with like a $1,000 grant for William F. Waite's, which is a gear rental place. So it was like, I want to get this shot, I want to make this. Then definitely we've got some fun. We've got like that, and then I was able to. Unfortunately, I had my grandfather pass right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Oh,
and this keeps happening with my films. Clout was funded because my Nana passed and I got some money from that. And then Damned Supper was funded by money I got from my grandfather. That it's like,
yeah, very unfortunate, obviously, but
it's at least they were both super supportive of my filmmaking and my acting. So I know that they would have been very happy to see that's what was done with it.
Oh, absolutely. It's really cool that you get to take the money from, like, obviously that's like horrible situations and like put it towards like art that they would like been proud of. That's really cool.
Yeah. I'm also very lucky that they were in their 90s, so I did get to spend a lot of good time with them. But yeah, so the funding just happened, sort of all came together very easily for it. Then we were supposed to shoot in not this November that just happened, but the November beforehand. And we saw the numbers starting to climb. And luckily we hadn't paid for any rentals or anything yet. So we decided we'll just postpone it because we were not wanting anyone to put their health at risk. And then a week later, the BC Health Authority put in a bunch of new restrictions and we wouldn't have been able to shoot. So we preempted that. And then we were able to shoot this August, which was great.
That's great.
What wasn't great was it was the August heat wave. So we were dealing with like over 30-degree weather.
It's weird to be in the winter now and just be like, oh yeah, like it's just like it's not like it's cold outside. I'm like I almost forgot about how hot it was, and it was ridiculous, like how insane it was in August.
Well, the August at least wasn't the heat dome, so it wasn't quite that hot, but it was a lot. Polyester, not a breathable fabric.
Yeah.
So we actually ended up shooting it at David Abu Safi's house. And so we had the actors, aside from me, I was like, no, I need to be on set at all times. All the other actors, we had them go into the basement with fans and everything until they were needed on set to just try and keep them cool. Because we also had to block off the windows and everything to make it look like nighttime.
Right. That answered my question. I was like, was it shot inside or outside? But I guess it was shot inside.
Yeah. So that was another reason why we wanted to make sure that it was a safer time. And what was also nice was by that point, people had been vaccinated. So we weren't as scared.
Yeah. So when is the release of that one? I guess it's got to go through its festival run. And then what's its first festival? Do you have that?
So we're going to start submitting.
Oh, okay.
So we've got the dream festivals I would love for it to play at, but it's all going to depend on what the first festival to select it will be for when it has its premiere and where in the world it's going to go.
Are you going to plan to see if there's any Australian festivals?
I already have. I have a spreadsheet.
Nice.
I have I've got a spreadsheet with like a breakdown of all the different festivals I'm interested in submitting it to, and their different deadlines and their cost and any notes that I have. And like, yeah, I like making spreadsheets.
Yeah. So you've got it planned out and like where you're going to put it and everything like that. I can't wait to see it because it sounds like it was a labor of love, and I really want to see like all your work in there. That sounds really
Yeah,
cool.
I'm also excited because this is my first time intentionally doing horror comedy.
Mhm.
So hopefully people will find jokes that I wrote funny. We shall see.
I'm extra excited now. Yeah, that's really cool. So is it more on the campy element side of it, or is it just like a horror comedy, like without the camp element?
I think that's gonna kind of depend on how people receive it, because
Mhm.
a lot of with camp, if you're trying really hard for something, if you're like being like, I'm going to make this as campy as possible, then you're gonna not really make proper camp, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
You just have to like have a vision, and you just have to really be wanting to have fun with it. And I mean,
Mhm.
I did have a lot of fun with everything about it. So we'll see.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to
Yeah.
post about that one once well, I guess once it's done its festival run and possibly becomes online. But otherwise, I just can't wait to talk more about that one once I've seen it too.
I mean, you might be able to get a review copy a bit earlier than it
Ooh.
being publicly released.
Okay. Well, I'll keep that in well, please keep me in mind for that too.
Of course.
I'm not sure if you're able to talk about this one because I saw you're posting about another film. Where is there? Are you talking?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think I can talk about that. We were supposed to be shooting this month, but pandemic
Mhm.
stuff. So we had to postpone it, but we're hoping to shoot it later this year. And it's a period film that's called Fallen Ripper. I'm one of the producers on it, and I'm also acting in it. And it was written by Melanie Ellis,
Okay.
and it's going to be directed by Nathan Easterbrook. And it's all about the final victim of Jack the Ripper in her final days in 1880s London.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that sounds really cool.
I am not playing Mary Kelly. I'm playing someone else. Just
Okay. Yeah, that
but
sounds really
I'm
cool.
not revealing anything
Yeah,
else.
please don't. Well, I like to be surprised. So yeah, please don't. But that sounds like a really cool concept.
Yeah, it's we've got like, I mean, I am of course always obsessed with the costumes, and we've got a great costume designer. I did a fitting with her a few weeks ago because we thought we were going to be shooting it this month.
Yeah.
Um, and I got to try everything on, and I was just like, oh, I feel so cool in this costume, even though it's not the actual costume, it's just mock-ups, but
Yeah, that's
it
what
was very exciting.
I really hope like this everything starts opening up soon and gets a little safer because yeah, that sounds like it's gonna be like such a cool like concept alone, let alone like the
Yeah.
costumes.
Yeah, and the location that we found, it's going to work really well, seeming older than it actually is. And we've got, we had started the casting process right
Mhm.
before the thing that caused us to have to
Yeah.
put pause on it. So we haven't got the other roles cast yet, except the writer Melanie is going to be playing Mary Kelly, so it's like her role and my role are cast, and then we're going to be, once we actually have shoot dates, then we're going to start doing callbacks and stuff, because better to know when the shoot date is than to be like, oh, we loved you, please be in the show, and then
Yeah.
you find out the shoot dates and it's like, oh, they can't.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And it's like definitely a lot of scheduling around with yeah, well, just film in general, but just with not
Yeah.
knowing what's going on in the world. Yeah.
So we'll hopefully be getting to that very soon.
Yeah.
And then I'll be able to have pictures of me in a really cool costume to share, but also it's a fun character I'm going to play too. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear the reveal of that one.
Yeah.
Before I wanted to discuss this before we get start wrap up here
Mhm.
is when we're talking about, because we've talked about a couple different genres and subgenres within horror, do you have a favorite subgenre, or is there like one that really sticks out to you?
Oh, I'm definitely very into like stuff with the occult
Mhm.
and cults and like paganness and like witchcraft and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I like folk horror. of course, but also like stuff that doesn't quite fit into folk horror. And then I also like the mad scientist experiments and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like stuff either really weird witchcrafty stuff or really weird man-made stuff. Oh, actually, that just reminds me of a film that I watched recently that was really good.
Okay.
It's called The Medium.
Oh,
And
I've been meaning to see that.
yeah, it's the same director as a horror comedy called PMAC, and then it's also he also directed the original Shutter.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't remember his name off the top of my head because I would butcher the pronunciation because it's Thai.
I'll put it in the show notes for sure. But I
Yes,
know that,
please
yeah, I
do,
know the name too, and I will butcher it too.
yeah, he's like, I've discovered that every horror film that he's seen that he's made, I really enjoyed it. So he's now like on my list of favorite directors. So I do need to memorize that name.
That's one of my favorite things to find out, like someone that's done like multiple different things you love and you don't really know. You're like, oh, I just like those things, and you just like make the connection later. It's like one of my favorite things.
Well, and then what's really weird is like I never would have guessed that this was the same, that because PMAC is this Thai horror comedy that's like just, it's almost, I'd say more of a comedy with horror elements.
Okay.
And it's just like got the sweetest, like it's got such a good heart to it. And then to find out that that was the same director as this like amazing possession found footage film and the original Shutter, and I'm just like, he has got variety, and I'm just very impressed by like everything's so different that he's made, but it's all good.
Yeah. I love that. I love the body of work. I mean, I'll definitely post his name because I don't want to butcher it either in the show notes, as well as his these movies. And I'll definitely see Medium because it's been on my list to watch, and I know I have some horror friends that are listening to this that have told me to watch it, and I apologize. I will definitely get on it probably sometime this week.
It's one of those things where you just got to make sure that it's a good time to just sit and watch a movie and do nothing else, because you got to read the subtitles and you want to make sure you know what's going on.
Yeah, it looked like it was a longer movie. I think that's why, I don't know if it was too long, but I think that's why I didn't like hop in it right away. But yeah, it's definitely been on my list to watch. So before I wrap up here, is there anything else you want to plug before we get to your like social media stuff? Is there anything else you want to discuss? I'm happy to like geek out with you on. Is there any movies you've seen recently or anything else?
Well, we talked about Gigi earlier, and her film Bingo Hell was really good. I got to see that in theater. That actually, I think, is what I saw in theaters most recently before things got worse and I didn't want to go to theaters anymore. Yeah, it's on Amazon, so you can also watch it. So you can still watch it, even though.
I will definitely put that in the show notes too. Always happy to promote some Gigi stuff.
Yeah. It's got like what I liked about it a lot, especially, is like the characters are all senior citizens. So it's like getting to see stories about people who we don't always see stories about. And the two leads, I want those women to get a spin-off sequel where they like go on vacation to Puerto Rico or something and encounter the chupacabra.
That sounds like a cool concept. Yeah, I definitely want. I still haven't seen Bingo Hell, and I'm not like, I just haven't gotten around to it. Even though I know I'm gonna like it because I'm just historically like Gigi stuff. But yeah, that's spurred me to, I definitely gotta watch that too.
Yeah, it's a fun ride.
Yeah, and because obviously I follow her on social media, I saw it's heavily like it was made in homage, well, not homage, but like it was made like for her grandmother, which is like, that was really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Okay, I'll definitely check that out. So Ariel, where can we find you on social media?
All right, so on social media for my personal stuff, I'm on everything pretty much as @Hansen's Horror. As I mean, what an unpredictable name for my branding. I make horror films, and yeah, I also love alliteration.
Yeah.
I also recently just built a personal website, arielhansen.ca. So if you want to like see stuff like my voiceover work and like my acting reels and stuff like that, that's all on there. And then if you want to check out some of my films that are online, Bad Cookie Pictures. Look that up on YouTube. That's our channel. And we've got Nepenthes. We've got Ready to Burst. We've got Paint the Town Red. We've got Relaxing Rituals ASMR and a whole bunch of other stuff on there. You can find Man in the Rabbit Mask on YouTube as well. It's under Tell a Story Hive. And I think that's it for social media. Bad Cookie Pictures. You can find that on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. I will put all that stuff in the show notes. Ariel, thank you so much for coming on the show. I will definitely be talking to you after this because I want to hear more about some of the stuff that you were not going to reveal on here. And yeah, I can't wait to hear more about that. Thanks again. We'll have to do this again. I'm sure we'll be working on something again in the future because you're just one of my favorite people in the genre. You always send me the nicest things to keep me connected. It's been a pleasure working with you in the past, and I can't wait to work with you in the future. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me on. This has been like so much fun getting to chat with you, and I definitely want to be working with you in the future. I think you've written some great stuff and it needs to get made. Dang it.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone else, I will see you guys later. And yeah, there's going to be more podcast episodes coming soon. The break is over. I'm back. And thank you, Ariel, for being my first guest back.
Of course. Happy to be here.
See you guys later. Bye.
Goodbye.